What's up guys, Ryan here. I hope you enjoyed that trailer and I hope you're excited. In my last video I showed you how to make amazing images in Midjourney, cut them into layers in Photoshop and then animate them like a pro in After Effects. If you haven't already watched the video, you can click here to watch it now or just stick around, go back to my channel and find the first video afterwards. We previously learned how to make one animated scene, but in this video we're taking things to the next level and I'm going to show you exactly how to take multiple scenes and edit them together to make that exact trailer that I just made. We're going to break it down scene by scene. I'm going to show you some amazing animation stuff and I'm going to show you some stuff that I've learned along the way about Midjourney. And stick around to the end because I'm going to show you this stupidly cool prompting website where you can just type in the details of the kind of prompt you want and it'll make the prompt for you, so don't miss that. As always guys, I try and make videos on this channel that give you gold that you can't find anywhere else, that give you more value, less fluff than any other channel in the sort of video editing niche. So a like, a comment, a subscribe goes a real long way to helping support me and just keep me motivated to keep making these videos. And of course, if you want to make better videos or even better get paid good money for making videos, go and learn more with me on Skillshare. Make sure to grab your free month with the link below. And that's enough of this preamble. Let's get straight into the tutorial. I'll see you inside. I knew I wanted to make an epic trailer, so I started by heading over to Artlist where I get all my stock footage, music and sound effects, and I pressed epic, powerful, exciting, and luckily the first track was perfect. So after setting up my project file, I dragged this into Premiere Pro. I didn't want the video to be too long, so I played around with cutting it up and stitching it together to try and make it more epic, but it didn't quite work. So I took the last 8 bars, layered in some hits and some risers and whooshes to make it sound better. By the way guys, you can get 2 months free with any Artlist Max plan by using the link below. Next, I wanted to do something different. Rather than just using random images, I wanted to try and create some sort of storyboard. And I've been loving ancient Greece recently, so I decided on some sort of Spartan war. I generated prompts in Midjourney using comic style and started placing images into the timeline as I built the narrative. Along the way, I also learned that stylize actually means how accurate to the prompt your image will be, so the lower the number, the less Midjourney will deviate from the prompt and vice versa. Also, some images I really liked, but the sky was the wrong color, so I used remix mode to add red sky to generate similar images with red sky to fit the style of the other images. It wasn't easy to get the exact images. I had to play around with camera angles in the prompts, so it took some trial and error, but luckily I found this amazing prompting tool that helps you create more accurate prompts, which I'll show you at the end of the video. So after a few hours I had the rough storyboard outline for the trailer. So you see the Spartan close up, he points down, assembles his army, commands them down a hill, they have a battle, there's a little one-on-one scene, and then he's left exhausted in destruction and walks away safe with his family at the end. Next I opened up Photoshop. I created a new 1920 by 1080 file and began to cut out and segment each layer, load and delete selection like I taught in a previous video. Once again, I'll leave that linked up here if you haven't seen it. I can definitely confirm that cutting out the layers closest to you first works best because by the end you have one colourful canvas of a background that operates as the sky and fills any gaps or mistakes nicely and makes things way more organised. I was a lot more detailed when cutting this time and I actually stuck some music on and really got into it. It was a nice change from video editing every day. I knew in one scene I wanted to animate the Spartan's arm, so I cut out the Spartan, I selected his arm and I did layer via cut instead of copy, and then I made it transparent to clean up some of the defects. I make sure to rename my layers every time. It makes it a lot easier when I import into After Effects. And also here's a quick tip. You can drag your images straight into the layers panel to open up a new project in Photoshop, but you still need to save them separately. So you can do this just by pressing Shift and A. And with all my Photoshop layers sorted, I jumped into Premiere Pro. So I right click on my first image, replace with After Effects composition, and then started a new After Effects project file. I delete the image in the placeholder, drag the Photoshop composition in as a composition, and then we get to work on the animation. And this is pretty much how we do each scene with a few little tweaks later on. And now I'm going to walk you through what I've done in each of the scene, what effects I've used, a little bit about animation. So let's get into scene number 1. So in this scene I animated 2 black solids, one from the top, one from the bottom, and I also animated a camera zoom to come in at the same time to give this borders. I added a turbulent displace to the background so that you get a little bit of a warp and effect to keep it moving, a little camera zoom, and I added a wiggle expression to the camera which gives it some movement. In scene number 2, I copied and pasted the borders from scene number 1, but I reversed the keyframes, so now they open up while I'm zooming out with the camera. I animated the birds in the background, so they scale down and looks like they're scaling further away. The camera's zooming out, and I've got a little kind of sandy looking graphic which I added just to give that sort of deserty look. I used the puppet tool on the Spartan's arm so that I could animate that so it looks like he's commanding the troops downwards. And I cut out the cloak and put on a little turbulent displace so that it kind of gives it an effect like it's blowing in the wind. Scene number 3 is probably the simplest one of them all. So in the background, I cut out the sun, I added the ground in front of it so the sun can creep up behind, the birds animate up, and the camera is just panning to the left. Now this is probably my favorite scene. I cut out all the soldiers and then I just manually animated some keyframes to make it look like they're marching, which I later synced to the beats where I've added extra stomps, and I've also added some fog in the background to give it some depth, and I'm just doing a slight zoom out with the camera and a slight zoom in with the troops to give it that real marching effect. You can see here actually, this is what happens when you don't clean up your Photoshop layers. There's a couple of spears kind of floating in the air. What I should have done is gone into Photoshop and just rubbed those out from that file and re-imported it. But hey, nobody's perfect, right? For the flash between this scene and this scene, I've just created an adjustment layer and I've just animated the white input level so it builds up and it stays there and it gives you a flash. In this next scene, I've cut out both guys, I've kept the background from one of the guys, and I've animated them in fast, and then they slowly start passing each other, and also the debris from the background image I've put in front, and I've just scaled it up so it looks like they collide, and then there's some debris floating in the air, and it almost looks like that kind of manga or that anime thing where two people clash. I really like this scene. With this next scene, again, I use the puppet tool to animate a rotation on the arm. So if I solo the arm, you can see the arm goes like this, and I pull out with the camera at the same time of the animation of the arm, and then there's a slow zoom out with the camera. And to get the ink blobs, I took an ink mat and then I made them a matte layer for a red solid so I can get these ink splats, and I just added the ink splats afterwards, and I think that looks really nice. This scene's another really easy one. I've just pushed the background back to give it the parallax effect, scroll the camera across, and then behind I've got some flames and some embers. So that shows you kind of the destruction in the village. And in this last scene, I've just got two cameras. One pans up, the other one pans up, but it cuts back and pans up slower. So it shows you the family, so you really understand that it's the family walking away. And then it kind of slows down. And I've just got a few of the embers, or the leaves off the tree, sorry, sort of floating in the background. And it shows that they're all safe. And now they're going to live in skyscrapers because apparently back in ancient Greece they had skyscrapers. Finally, I took my outro from my previous video and then I just made another ink mat, put part 2 behind it. I added a little grunge texture to the part 2 and then faded that out. When this was all done, I just went through Artlist and I picked out sound effects to try and keep things moving. We've got a slow riser that you'll notice build up throughout the video, but it's quite subtle. Then there is some wind that kind of howls, marching sounds, and extra hits and stomps on the beat when these guys are walking like this. Here's a few seconds with just the music. Just the sound effects. And here's it all together one more time. Alright guys, if you've watched this far, you are absolutely just amazing people. As promised, here is the prompter guide. So it's really simple. You save a copy to your spreadsheet and you just go through this guide and you fill things in. So like at the top, you put in your main description. You can change the weight of the images. So if you have 2 images, the higher number makes that bigger in comparison to the smaller number. Then you can go down, you can change the camera settings so that you can have like a wide angle lens. You can change to comic book, you can change the aspect ratios, and it just makes this prompt at the bottom, which you go and paste into Midjourney. I'll leave this also linked in the description below. And that is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to learn more of, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!